From East Bay? Anybody further than that? Okay. Marin? Okay.
Tri-Valley.
Tri-Valley, nice. Okay.
We're here from New York.
New York, wow. Well, there's one more person who's here from India. Yes. So, well, it's a pleasure. Huh?
I get more cake.
Yes, you get more cake and more cookies. Yes. Portugal. Wow. Welcome.
She still wins.
Well, it's nice to have representation from all the continents. Amazing. Yes.
I came from upstairs.
Upstairs. Yes.
That's the best.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, welcome to 10x Growth Strategies. Are we good, Michael? Okay, awesome. My name is Preeti Padmanabhan. I'm the founder of 10x Growth Strategies community. My day job, I run marketing for tech companies, startups, big companies, but this is what I love doing. I love building community. 10x Growth Strategies was built to help founders 10x their companies. And we do that by bringing the founders along with investors, as well as the executives, corporate executives who can help them be successful. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you here are founders? Okay, almost like a third founders, or maybe more. How about any investors? There's like couple, 3 investors, okay. And then how about executives in companies? Nice, nice. So that's pretty much, did I miss any demographic, any other? Marketers. Marketing executives, great. We love it, right? This event is about marketing leadership in the age of AI. So we have a packed agenda here today. We'll be kicking off with some messages from our sponsors, and we thank them for both the host and the sponsors. And then we'll have our first panel, which is about owning your brand. And we have 3 amazing speakers and a wonderful moderator who's all the way from India. We have then a short break where we'll be giving a couple of offers from a couple of our partners. And then we go into the second panel, which is all about expanding your influence beyond your seat. And both these conversations are so relevant for today because one, we are looking to build our company's brand in the age of AI, our own personal brand. And also the second panel, we put that together with 3 different speakers who have now grown to a different role from the marketing CMO role. So how can we do that? And how can we future-proof our careers? So that is the whole idea behind the second panel. And then we'll continue with our networking after that. A little bit about the 10x Growth Strategies community. You can feel free to connect. I always post updates in the community on LinkedIn. And we are about close to 8,000 people across Luma and LinkedIn. And we've grown to that in the last couple of years. And we've actually gone ahead and worked with founders across Y Combinator, Alchemist Accelerator, StartX, FalconX, VentureDog, several different communities that we have here. We've brought them all together. And we host these events on about monthly basis. And typically for these events, we get over 100 plus signups for the monthly events. Our bigger events are during Tech Week, Climate Week, and now we also have next week is Venture Week, which is happening in San Francisco. So those times we get way more signups. Our biggest event was last Tech Week. We had 1,100 signups for 150 spots. So that was a phenomenal response from the community. This is actually some pictures from the last event we had from SF Tech Week. We also had some luncheons that we did with founders and investors. I welcome any others who are looking to sponsor, looking at how to reach this community. Feel free to reach out directly to me. We do different ways of reaching out, and we thank our sponsors here who've done that for this event. We have our next week event on revenue growth in the age of AI. We're going to talk from 3 different GTM leaders, and the 4th one being myself, coming from different angles, from a CMO angle, from a CRO angle, from a partnership angle, and a product angle. So that's going to be a very unique panel with perspectives. We are actually launching a mentorship network. What we found out in our June event, there was a huge need for early career folks to connect with those who are been there, done that. So in that event itself, we were able to connect some people who were aspiring to get to leadership role. So most of you here are actually in the mentor state. So if you don't mind signing up as a mentor, we would love to bring you in as a 10x mentor. And we have a lot of people who are looking for advice. So we really appreciate that. So we're launching the mentorship network at this event this month. One other thing, I actually also teach meditation. That is how I calm myself. And I actually am hosting a class this month, and that's going to be a 3-session workshop. So if anybody is interested, we'll also share this information after this event on an email. With that, I'd love to acknowledge Ashurst Perkins Coie, who's our host here. Tina, would you like to come and say a few words about? You can? Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you for.
Do you want to come up front? Would love that.
Maybe give me the mic.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I'm actually filling in for a colleague, Susanna, who wasn't able to be here tonight because her flight was late. So just want to welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. You may remember our firm used to be named Perkins Coie. It was President Trump's favorite law firm. Couldn't stop talking about us. But now we have merged with a firm called Ashurst, and the new name is Ashurst Perkins Coie. Changed all the branding, and hopefully the government will leave us alone. So again, thanks for coming. I don't think that there are any other lawyers here, so I'm happy to answer any legal questions that anybody has. There we go.
Thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause for the host sponsor. We cannot do these events without their support. I'd love to welcome Rohan from Sphinx AI to talk about his company.
Yeah, thanks everyone for, do I need that too? Oh, thanks everyone for attending. Appreciate you all being here. So we're Sphinx, we're a New York-based startup, we're an AI research company. What we broadly do is training. So we help companies that are very data-driven and divisions of companies that are data-driven, including of course marketing teams, look at their internal data, the work they've already done on that data, everything from dashboards to reports to PowerPoints, and effectively run training algorithms on them. We're able to build them custom AI solutions based on that training that turn their generic AI copilots, their Claude codes, their ChatGPTs, whatever they're using today, into highly specialized tools that deeply understand their data, their business, how they do marketing, and for this card in particular, how they use marketing in order to drive revenue without really too much manual intervention, 2 weeks of training rather than 12 months of having people go and onboard agents. Would love to chat with anyone interested in doing that after, but I'll give the time back.
Thank you so much. And I'll grab that's the
Oh,
live
yes.
stream mic. Sorry about that. We decided to do a live stream because of requests. Okay, perfect. Next, I would like to talk about Save 5 Hours. This is one of our partners, Michael Knopfsinger. I'm speaking on his behalf. I worked with him in the past month, and he actually helped guide me through some of the new AI tools that help me actually save 5 hours every week. So that's a very unique concept. If anybody is interested, feel free to offline connect with me on how he can help you. All right, with that, I'd like to welcome Lakshmi, who's going to now lead us through the first panel and bring all her speakers on stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey everybody, good evening.
now that we've had all the introductions out of the way, let's dive right into the first conversation. I'm not going to take too much of your time on introductions. My name is Lakshmi Rebecca. I'm the founder of a creative agency out of India called Makers. That's Makers. You would have received this on your way in, so that's us. Okay. Today's topic, I want to dive right into this. I'm very excited to talk about owning the audience in the age of AI because, we work rather, my agency, we work with brands across B2B, across B2C here and in India, and I have a podcast of my own. And audience is everything, but engagement is everything too, right? You can have millions and millions of followers today and very low engagement. You can also just have 1,000 followers and 1,000,000 likes on something. The algorithms have changed, and in this era, what brands are trying to do is not just, across platforms, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever else, and through newsletters and offline events, brands are trying to create better engagement in a world that's so much more fragmented than it ever was before. So how are some of the leading brands that we know of in the B2B world doing it today? And also in B2C, and I think we have some exciting panelists, very, very established, three wonderful women, nice range of brands and experiences to dip into with them today. So let me first welcome Lynn Lucas, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Everpure. Lynn, anywhere? Yeah. Lynn just led the company's high-profile rebrand from Pure Storage and drives global marketing strategy. She built and led marketing organizations at Cohesity, Veritas Good Technology, and Cisco along the way, earning a spot on the 2023 Fearless 50 list of customer-led marketers, and holds a degree in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley. Welcome, Lynn. We have Alexandra Shapiro, the Global Head of Product Marketing for JPMorgan Payments. Alexandra has held leadership positions at JPMorgan Chase, Lending Club, Big Commerce, and PayPal. She is known for driving marketing innovation and high-performing teams, and now leverages AI agentic tools to enhance the effectiveness and relevance of JPMorgan's payments marketing strategies and campaigns. So that's Alexandra. And our third panelist today is Christine Royston. Christine has over 20 years of experience driving go-to-market transformation and revenue growth in marketing roles at companies that include Salesforce, Dropbox, Udemy, and Bitline. She was most recently Chief Marketing Officer at Reich, where she drove their worldwide marketing strategy and guided her team through the AI shift. So I think we have a very, very exciting set of speakers, and I'm going to dive right in and ask each one of you to please set some context for us. What's your team size? What's the company's, last revenue, and what are you trying to move the needle to right now? So over to you.
Well, so right now the team is about 260 folks in marketing full-time. Company is had $3 billion plus quarters in a row, so we are looking at closing in on $4.5 billion this year, as stated publicly by the CFO. Was there a third part to the question, Lakshmi? I've already forgotten.
No, yeah, I think you're good. And
good,
team size,
okay.
sorry, team size.
Team size.
Your marketing team.
260-ish globally.
Wonderful. It's a very large team. I think we might have to share mics then. Yeah.
So being part of JPMorgan Chase, it is a huge company with lots of people in marketing. I'm focusing specifically on payments, which is a fintech portion, I think, of the business. And as part of JPMorgan Payments team on my product marketing team, we have about 40 people. That includes analytics. We also have a portion of the team that is dedicated, which is relevant to AI conversation, to helping us understand the customer journey and analytics component. And our revenue, I had to look it up. Apparently it's 182 billion for 2025. And the guidance was so complex. So feel free to take a look at our public earnings announcements and guidance.
Thank you, Alexandra.
So I'm coming from a slightly different scale. Reich, private company, we ended last year around the low 200 million ARR and targets for this year around the mid 200 million. And then the marketing team, about 50 full-time employees, and then another 15 supported by revenue operations, web development, and data scientists.
You know, if you could please quickly outline for me and everyone here, and we've got a mix of people here in the audience, founders, marketers, product managers even, I think, and investors. Who is an ICP for you? Who's your primary number one buyer, right? Customer. Because I think a lot of what you do around community building and engagement boils down to who are you trying to speak to?
Sure, I can start. So the company was very horizontal. Essentially, any department, any industry, any user could purchase it. But we really tried to focus on a couple of key audiences. So marketing teams were actually one of those audiences. People who needed to use workflow management to manage their campaigns, launch new products. Manufacturing companies were another one where they were looking at how do they rapidly iterate on different prototypes, and then professional services. So if you have to manage a lot of different clients, you might use Reich in order to manage those different books of business.
Thank you.
On the payment side, we offer solutions to businesses. So it could be a very small business just looking to start accepting credit cards or take online transactions, to very large businesses looking for full treasury solutions, support with working capital, liquidity. So full set of payments products, but it's primarily B2B. And then the other set of customers that I'm sure we'll talk more about is actually our non-human customers, and they're becoming more and more important, and it's a big part of our target audience.
So Everpure, formerly Pure Storage, has a lot of ICPs now, and it's one of the reasons that we rebranded. So the company was founded about 15 plus years ago. It's a public company, and it was based originally on the idea that flash storage, what you have in all your phones and your laptops, would be eventually used in B2B enterprise data centers. So the original ICP was a storage director, storage admin. We now have 8 personas, not counting AI, and many of them are C-level, CIO, CTO, Chief Data Officer, the most recent one. So one of our marketing challenges, and one we hope to solve with AI increasingly, is how do we orchestrate and customize our marketing for each of those 8 personas.
Fantastic. That's a nice, big, wide range of target audiences there. So what does owning the audience mean to each of you? Right? Is it even possible today? I think, Lynn, I'd like you to take that first.
Yeah, so in our pre-meeting, I said, you can't do that, right? No one can own the audience. The audience owns us. Think about it in your consumer world, how easy it is now for you to gain information on almost anything, right? Especially exponentially easier now with the introduction of AI. So I would argue that as a marketer, I don't think about owning the audience. Instead, I think about how are we developing these communities, and how are we, our goal actually at the corporate CEO level, the company goal is to build a trusted advisor relationship with many of these different communities that we are working with, maintaining our existing one and growing new ones.
So how are you actually building a community then today?
So we focus, and I had you mention, and I've always believed in this for many years, we focus it a lot on customer voice. Because marketing, and especially now, there can be so much, and I'm going to use the term AI slop. There is an official designation for AI slop on LinkedIn, if you haven't read that. The only area that can't be copied is what your customers say about you. So we really focus on that. And then the second piece I would say for the founders in the room that we'll get to is customers want to know those personal stories. They want to know your origin story. They want to know what drives you and what your vision is. And that can be one of the compelling ways to create a community, to have a community develop around that vision that you have. And then the third I would say is what all people want, which is they want to learn and grow in their careers or in their network.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lynn. Alexandra?
So I actually agree with you. I think it's hard to own a community. It is fundamentally a consumer term. When I was doing previously marketing to consumers, you have one decision maker that you can build a community with that person because they're making a single decision. In the enterprise marketing, in B2B, and many of you I think are doing B2B marketing, we have a buying committee. And depending on what we're selling, it could be CFO, it could be head of treasury, it could be head of digital, head of commerce, head of technology. And a lot of those committees, they have 8 to 10 members. And the decision journeys are long. They take sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes quarters. So I don't think you can truly own a community. What you can own is building relationship, earns the trust and data, and have access to that to the extent you're able to leverage some of the data and build and leverage the trust. And then in my earlier comment, I said a big part of the audience is not human. And I think that is a very important change for us now as we're thinking about what it takes. We actually have to remember that a big portion of the search and a big portion of building is coming from agents. Agents don't care about a marketing campaign. They don't have an affinity to our brand. So they have a whole different set of criteria. And as we build our marketing, we have to think about two audiences. We need to think about the brand and how we connect with the customers, with the consumer, with the human. And then how do we also connect with the agent? We've done some research at JPMorgan Payments, and our perspective is that by 2030, somewhere between 15 to 25% of all e-commerce transactions will be done by an agent. So there's no brand affinity there. They're just purely making those decisions. So what that means for us as we think about our customers and how do we build that relevance is also how can we make sure our solutions can be easily found. So if you're B2B, how are you part of that consideration list? If you are producing pitch decks or RFPs and they're gated content, guess what? Your agents are not seeing it. So how can you make more of that be part of the consideration? Or if you're B2C, how do you make your catalog available? Pricing, access to availability, a whole new set of things, because you need to do both.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll build on both of those points. I think in terms of owning your brand, I do think that with the rise of AI search, whether you want to call it GEO, AEO, search everywhere, you have to make sure you've got brand consistency everywhere where AI might be trying to discover you, your solution, et cetera. So having that is really important to owning your brand and your community. And then I think especially for those of us that are selling to enterprise buyers, multiple decision makers as part of large deals, building those communities that you own, whether it's executive advisory boards, customer advisory boards, events where you can actually have that face-to-face engagement is super important to make sure you're building those relationships and kind of balancing out the fact that there is AI out there maybe working on your behalf. You want to meet the humans.
It's amazing how all three of you have said you can't own the community. And the focus is so much more about discovery and trust and advisory, right? And that's fascinating. That's the common thread. Let's talk about the use of AI in content creation and distribution and for customer engagement today. How are you using AI for content creation, distribution, and better customer engagement? Would you like to go first?
Sure, I can start with two examples. One on the content creation. I think like many of you, we started with, how do we create more content faster? What's that velocity of creation? And so we ended up using AI for brainstorming, for briefs, for drafts. In many cases, we were able to see the time to create a new SEO article went from 3 days to 3 hours. So massive reduction in time. I think on the customer engagement side of things, the customer experience things, AI SDRs were a technology that we were using to make sure that we were able to provide people information that they needed when they came to our website. And then when they were ready to engage with a human, how do you hand it over to that salesperson or that customer success rep?
Thank you. Alexandra?
So being part of a bank, I will say that we were, and we still are very careful in our positioning and our use of AI. But I actually think it's been our advantage and it has helped us, and I'll explain why. We did not rush to create content with AI, and in fact, I don't think we're still very, very careful and thoughtful there, meaning we don't do it. However, I'll tell you how we have found different uses of tools and technology. It starts with data. Remember I mentioned I have analytics as part of my team, but beyond my team, it starts with data. So we have ability to start with coming up with strategies and use our internal LLM, large language model that we all can access to help us come up with plans. So from market analysis to segment sizing, to opportunity, to revenue estimates, our marketers are able to use a proprietary LLM tool to identify opportunities. So that before we begin, we're able to use a lot of data and insights to inform our strategies. And we have later built out our personas, agentic personas, and I'll talk about that later, probably that's going to come up again. But personas are very helpful because it gives us opportunity to test our messaging, how it resonates. In other words, we use technology before we create. And then we also use technology later. When we rolled out content, it allows us to see, did the campaign perform? What was the results? Can you tell me common triggers, other common drivers? So help us understand and analyze. Linked to that, all the other signals we get, either from engaging with our salespeople or our support teams, all of those signals make campaigns more effective on the back end. But the interim part, the actual part of creating content, is still deeply human for us.
Thank you.
So I think we're a blend between the two. So we think about our AI strategy in 3 pillars: AI as a teammate, AI as a tool, and brain fog, AI as one more pillar, which will come to me in a minute. Not a replacement. Actually, I think that's a really interesting topic, right? So, and actually our CEO and our CHRO have gone on public record. We need more people. We're a growth company, and AI is a tool for velocity. So we started in marketing more than a year ago on, I think in a similar way with the technology discussion using data, to try to solve the problem of going from one persona to like 7 in 2 years. And that's not just a content creation problem, but that is a massive orchestration problem. And my headcount wasn't growing nearly as fast as the GMs were inventing products. So fortunately, we had done true persona research just as I arrived. We have now augmented that with an interesting tool called Evidenza, which is allowing us to do more rapid persona testing. We are building AI agents for each of the personas, and then we have invested in a customer data platform where we own the data, and that is in production, and we are beginning to use that to roll out more customized, personalized microjourneys. Because my vision is that, as for B2B, to Alexandra's point, our buying decisions are on average 25 people. We have seen, we also use AI very much, it's actually ML technically, for predicting pipeline. And we have seen customer journeys with 380 people in it for some of the largest global banks. unnamed. And so I would like to be able to deliver each of the folks in the buying committee the same personalized experience that you would have as a consumer on Amazon. And so the only way to do that is with automation, which often gets overlooked in these days. It's not all about AI. Humans who still have to be smart enough to know what we need to automate, and then AI to make this effortless and take the drudgery out of it.
Amazing. That's quite exhaustive across all the answers. That's, yeah, what great examples. And thank you for talking about some of the names of the tools. Yes.
AI
okay.
is a target. Oh, for God's sakes, I knew there was a third one. That's the agent that is searching for us. There we go. Sorry.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so when it comes to AI-powered marketing, what is a metric that each of you, in your case, you were trying to move or would like to move next, and what you are trying to move now?
Super simple. Revenue. I mean, at the end of the day, the marketing, we have to run it as a business, and the ultimate goal, I really am not joking, is are we able to show increased lift in revenue and increased velocity in sales? So we are looking at, we have several models in place with our finance partners, and we are looking at cohorts and measuring as best we can. How are we contributing to faster revenue recognition for the company?
Thank you. Alexandra.
Understand, agree, revenue, of course, and profitable growth. So we measure profitability and ROI. But yeah, specifically for AI, so how we measure effectiveness of AI, and just see since now they're non-human customers, you can try to measure things, new things. So we used to measure share of voice and traffic to your website. Those metrics are not super accurate anymore, partially because traffic to the website has been declining with more people starting search outside of the traditional places. So you can actually measure that. Does your brand show up in the search terms related to your keywords? Are you showing up? Are you showing up in contextual search? Because if you are not showing up there, just like you were measuring SEO, no different with AO or GEO, you have to measure that to see if you're showing up. And that is a good indicator, because if you are not, and that's where your customers go to find information about you, that's something you have to measure and improve. And there are companies that specialize in that. And then you can measure if the work that you are doing is having an impact on this metric. You measure no differently than you would in SEO. But of course, top line metrics, I completely agree.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah, I think when I started off the AI journey at Wrike, we were definitely looking at velocity of work, amount of work. Now that I'm out of the business, I think the next couple of things that we would measure would be velocity of deals. I think that is one that we would definitely look at. The campaigns that we're running, if they are AI enhanced, if those workflows were deconstructed and rebuilt with AI, are they delivering deals that close faster? And then deal size. So because so many people are involved in a decision, are we actually able to sell higher up? Are we able to sell a larger deal at the beginning rather than maybe a smaller deal and then expand later?
Got it. And earlier in the conversation we were talking about trust, right? Trust came up. What's the role of an executive brand today? With all this slop and with the greater deal of content that each of your brands are putting out today, where does the executive brand fit in?
I can
Yeah,
kick it
go
off.
for it.
Yeah, I think if you think about startups always have their founders out in front and really being the brand. I think now every company needs to have some sort of executive C-level. It could even, if you're in a really large company, maybe it's your GMs, maybe it's people who are running product lines. Those people need to be out in front and building their brand for the benefit of the company, because we all know that we're engaging with AI. We all know potentially what we're reading on the website was written by AI. And we want to hear from humans, we want to engage with humans. And so that brand is important, whether you're building it on LinkedIn, whether you are hosting a podcast, whether you're meeting people at events like this. So I think it's really important in terms of building trust when we are all overwhelmed with a lot of content these days.
Yeah, I would echo that. I just double click into it maybe for the founders in the room. So we, with my communications partner, started the first executive thought leadership program, and really, I think thoughtfully worked on what are the 2 or 3 themes. And that's probably the advice I would give in terms of building that trust. Is it can be very easy to be swayed from, based on what's going on in the rest of the world, to be on, message to message to message. And I think doing exactly what Christine said, but then also making sure that you have either a couple of themes or a through line so that your audience can really understand the essence of what you are trying to build trust in. That would be the advice. It's easy to go and maybe be prompted by your board or your investors to be, oh, we got to be talking about this or we got to be talking about that. You'll never get the traction, and therefore you won't get the trust in your intended community.
I'll add that it is very important for us in the business of managing money and moving money to have trust. And our people as humans, where ultimately they're helping us build relationships. And when you think about if you're an enterprise customer or you're a small customer, but especially if you're an enterprise customer and if you have a problem, you want to make sure that there is a person who you can call, not just a system you can log in. And so it's a big part of our brand platform and brand strategy is delivering on that promise on trust, and then helping our leadership team and our executives and our representatives leverage technology to ultimately drive those very human interactions. Use technology before the meeting. There's so much you can do. You can do deep research. You can be really well prepared for every conversation. And now with the tools we have, we can know so much more and have really thoughtful preparations with our clients. But nothing will replace this human relationship, and so we continue to invest in that.
Thank you. And the one question that I think every marketing leader has, what is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest worry around the use of AI in marketing?
So we're working on 2 things. So we are a data company at heart. We store many of the world's largest companies' data, and it doesn't matter if they're large or small. So we are focused, and I have found that it's really interesting. A lot of companies at their corporate level will talk about holding that trust, being very secure, offering solutions that way. As marketers, with these new sets of AI tools, I have found that many are not thinking enough about where the data that you have is going with some of those new tools. And if you believe that data, along with our people, are our strongest asset, then you want to be really careful about making sure that your data is not going to be even inadvertently used inappropriately or perhaps breached. So that's one area that we worry about when we look at every single AI tool. And then the second area is we have been working in marketing for well more than a year on AI. We believe in innovation. We want every marketer to grow. Now we are at the stage where governance of AI workflows across different departments or functions is becoming more of an opportunity, because we have Claude deployed for everyone in the company. So anyone can create a marketing workflow, which is awesome as a chief marketer. And we need to have some rules around how are we allowing innovation to flourish, but we have governance of these marketing workflows because they have real impact on the brand and on ultimately the trust.
I'll bring a very specific example, something that you actually mentioned earlier, agentic personas. So this is we actually also used evidence at one point. It's a great opportunity to practice with if you haven't, I don't know how many of you, raise your hand if you have agentic personas deployed in your company. Just a couple. I highly recommend. So think about first do research, come up with your target clients, and create an agent. Use the same Claude and ask Claude to be your customer X or persona X. And I think it's a really great tool. It can give you feedback on your marketing campaigns. It can tell you everything, subject line feedback, what ads work better, feedback on creative, an amazing tool. We have built personas for multiple segments, and we will continue to expand number of agents because they're really fantastic thought partners. Now here's the caveat, and you ask like where it could go wrong. Well, personas are only as good as the data that you fit in. And they try to please you. I don't know if you've noticed, but Claude is the #1 pleaser in the world.
All of them, they just flatter you all the
They
time.
flatter
Like, you're
you
the best
all the
human
time.
being.
So you build personas with the best conviction you have and with the best data and input. It will spit back to you the information, but now it just will be very polished and very convincing. So I think as you work with the tools, keep that in mind and think of right away, how do you build a persona that has a contradictory profile, that thinks like a devil's advocate? Maybe is a persona who uses your competitor's products, so they can be more honest with you and you're getting better data. And I think that's just some of the learnings, but with all the tools, always think about the direct and the unintended consequences as you start using them.
Thank you, Alexandra.
I love thinking about the devil's advocate, the partner to push me on what I'm thinking about. I will also say, a big concern of mine is around workflow proliferation. When we were starting to push my product marketing team to use AI to think about creating messaging frameworks that would be easy for our sales teams, our CS teams to access, they discovered there were a couple other departments, not in marketing, building those frameworks. And so it really brings up the question of, the governance around how does work get done? Where should that work originate? And then it starts to have me think about org design. Do I need to really think about the organization of my marketing team? Because now if people can do a wider set of work, do I need to think about different job descriptions, different ways that the teams are organized? So it's definitely something that is top of mind for me.
Thank you. I think we have a few minutes for a few questions from the audience. The question, we can pass a mic around. Oh, yeah, you can come to the podium.
You want me to use this mic on the?
Yes, please. And please, may I request everyone to just put your phones on silent? Thank you.
So thank you, panelists. My name is Alex Ortiz. I'm with Bright Growth. I'm curious, as a marketing leader, how are you using AI for your function, meaning decision support, management, oversight? Obviously, we're hearing stories about how you're taking it through your organization, your marketing, but how about you personally? How is AI helping you do your job?
You want to start? I don't even know how did I do my job before I had AI, but one of the best things that I think was happened was an LLM tool because of our private, it's private version of LLM, and we can pick Claude or OpenAI as one of the tools, but it is a private thing. It allowed me to build my own my own assistant. So my own assistant, I tend to refer to her as she because she seems like so good, but she knows a lot about me. She knows my marketing plan, she knows my customer segments, she knows our strategy. And because it is in the private environment, I feel comfortable sharing that data. And then that assistant is my thought partner on almost everything I do. Even if I'm getting a thought leadership plan proposal, I will run it through the tool, and the assistant will allow me to just provide feedback, and of course knows all about our competitors and our customer segments, and will give me that feedback. The second thing I mentioned is also personas. This is really important for our work in marketing. I would make sure, let's say a team presents a landing page, I will ask if they had already gone through a persona. I expect that to happen right away. It's now part of our normal process. And also data and insights. It is a really powerful tool to help us understand the opportunities, the sizing, where should we be focusing, how we prioritize the work, and looking at the opportunities to deepen share, build more relationships, grow more revenue, the data infrastructure that this brings. And because it is all within LLM, it allows me much easier to ask simple questions instead of having to go to a platform, download like a Tableau report and try to figure this out. I can just ask a query as a chatbot and I will get answers back. And that makes my life so much better. And then only back, but we'll create actually a PowerPoint deck with the answers. So significantly changes my life.
Similar, a lot of decision support for grins yesterday, or no, I guess 2 days ago. Like I created a company 2-pager for fun. I think part of what I'm trying to model as well, and I think this is the danger of being at the leadership level, is that trying to use AI in many of the different ways that I'm asking many folks in my organization to do it, so that I can get a personal sense of what are the pluses and what are the minuses. And so I'm trying to do a different kind of a project, I guess, and that's kind of, I guess some of it is related to my day-to-day. I haven't created an AI chief of staff. I know some CMOs have done that. A little nervous about that, but I'll talk to you about that. I think right now I'm really trying to make sure that I don't get so removed from it that I don't really understand what I'm asking my departments or the individuals to do on top of day-to-day decision support.
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because if you are telling your teams they need to use AI, you have to be able to use it yourself and kind of show that you're walking the walk. And I think, I have, I'll call it a light chief of staff that I was using to kind of look at my inbox, my calendar, previous one-on-one notes to help me get prepped for meetings. If I was meeting with a customer that I was an executive sponsor for, can I go and look at, the sales team's recent calls? Can I take a look at the status of their account, status of their contract? So kind of pulling all that data that either I'd have to ask the AE to pull for me, or I'd have to go and dig in all these systems, but just basically a briefing doc in order to get ready for that next meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have room for one more question. I think you raised your hand first, please. Thank you, Alex, for a great question.
Hi, my name is Akhil. I'm a techie. Thanks for your wonderful insights. I have a question on the AI or AEO or GEO, whatever you're referring to. So what are your strategies on the AI engine optimization? And are you also surfacing your ads on ChatGPT? Thank you.
Yes, a huge part, AI is a target. And so strategies, we use a tool to try to measure our brand visibility and citations. We use it across the 5 major LLMs, and each of them have different preferences. So we are really trying to hone in on where we think our personas are primarily, which ones they're using. But a lot of that is YouTube, Reddit, and deep knowledge-based content. We actually haven't, maybe because of the nature of our business, we haven't seen an enormous drop in web traffic because our content is so technical. And would say we are now experimenting with ads, but not on ChatGPT. Our audience is more on Reddit, and so we are starting there.
I think for us, the first step was measurement, and it's just the metrics we didn't have before. And so it started with figuring out how do we measure this, which ended up being, maybe we use the same company, we should talk. Ended up trying to figure out who is the expert in this, and then hiring that company so we can start measuring, so we can see the impact of any work. And largely then from there, that builds our work plan and what we need to do with the right content. And also, like you said, for each of the segments and personas, understanding the relevant channels, the questions they're asking in those tools, so that we can, again, see how the output of that is reflected.
Similar, we used a third-party tool to measure citations and be able to pull all that data that maybe you would have used a traditional search tool for in the past. We also really shifted our teams to think about it's not SEO or AEO geo, it's search everywhere. We need to have the same team that's thinking about this, think about it holistically. And we were beginning to invest more in, I'd say, brand, where historically we would have been very, very heavy in demand. And I think that investment in brand, whether it's PR, whether it's making sure you're showing up in news sites that can be scraped, super important. And similar, testing ads on Reddit, testing ads on ChatGPT. It was early days when I left in terms of results from those.
And maybe one pragmatic thing for founders, since you're probably like, wow, budgets, tools, what's that? How many of you listen to Lenny's podcast? Yeah, okay. He has a really great episode early last year. You can test your AEO visibility without having a tool. It's A/B testing. It's manual, but you can do it. And then YouTube, Reddit.
And then I'll add that, again, think about your agents and what they're using to find solutions, and make sure that information is public and easily available. If you are a consumer company, and because I'm on the payment side, on the merchant services side, if you're selling products, make sure your catalog is easily searchable. Make sure your pricing is transparent. If you have agents making purchases on your behalf, you have to think about, now if you're on B2B side and maybe you're delegating authority to agents, you really have to think about governance for the agents. What are they allowed to do? Or if you are selling B2B, then make sure the information that you're keeping as part of your sales process is easily accessible to agents. You have reference files on your side, references on your side. So you kind of have to rethink, what are you making publicly available if agent needs to find this information so you can show up in the search results.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Lynn, Alexandra, and Kristen. Now, Preeti, if I may just borrow the mic for 2 minutes. Sure, please. Go ahead. Thank you. I don't know if there's water in bottles in the fridge, under the counter there are refrigerators. Okay, very quickly, like I introduced myself earlier, I'm the founder of Makers. We are a creative agency based in India. What do? We do brand strategy, we do design, branding, campaigns, content. And here's one thing that we do really well. We make videos across the world. So when you walked in, all of you ideally should have been given this. If not, we'll pass these around. We've made over 1,000 customer case study videos across 30 countries. Okay. We work out of India, but we work with clients here in Europe, in Australia, in the UK, the rest of Southeast Asia as well, both B2B and B2C, and we take care of the end-to-end process. We're launching the customer story engine today here for the Bay Area with all of you. So I'm excited to be doing this. And as part of the launch offer, we're taking 20% off the cost of the first customer video that you make with us. But this is only for the first 5 brands that sign up with us. And all you need to do is scan the QR code and fill in a quick form, and we'll get back to you with our portfolio as well as the offer. So thank you so much. The QR code is up here, and that's us, Makers, and you can see more of our work on makers.com. That's makerrs.com. Thank you so much, and thank you for being such wonderful panelists.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and Lynn, Alexandra, and Christine. Let's give another big round of applause for this fantastic panel we had here today. I heard several insights. I heard building customer trust, building a community, being where the customers are, building an AI digital twin, which I also need to learn how to do, several different ideas. So we had a fantastic session, but we have more today. So So first, I'd like to welcome our next sponsor. You might have been wondering, what is that robot that cooks? So I'd love to invite the founders of Nosh on stage to talk about what they're building.
Yeah, the food is there. So before we go there, how many of you like want to eat healthy?
I only heard the word healthy, so
And how many of you feel that your food is broken? Like you want to eat something, but you are not able to get the food as you like. Okay. I am in a room full of people who eat healthy and whose food is not broken, so I have a tough job to do. But we started with my own story. Me and my wife both work, and it was always hassle to cook after coming from the work. And we can hire someone. It was easy, but then we are very choosy about food. We wanted food the way we like. And that's where I started thinking as an engineer, can I build a robot which will cook as I say, right? And that resulted in this product. So normally, like eating healthy is hard in today because takeouts are easy, but they are full of sugar, sodium, fat that you don't want to consume. Ready to eat, loaded with preservatives, the ingredient that you can't even pronounce. So, and cooking daily, it's so much hassle, messy, and not sustainable for someone who work and career oriented. So, for them, we build NOS. NOS is a robot where you load the ingredient, command it to cook, and it will make complete dish automatically. So it comes with preloaded 600 plus recipe. So you have and 14 plus cuisine. So you have wide variety of option to pick from. Just command it, and it will make you real food from your ingredient without any preservative, without any higher sodium, etc. And you can completely customize it. You can customize to your salt level, spice level, and fat level. You can even change the recipe. What it come preloaded with, you can change the recipe freely and make it continuously. So Preeti is our proud user who use it. We were seeing her data and it was like, initially she was not accepting maybe, and then suddenly started and it stayed there. So we are happy to say that Preeti, like people who are like busy and career oriented like Preeti, it is really the product.
Today I made a quinoa for lunch. I made a quinoa dish with lentils, and then I also made lotus seeds, both very healthy options. So it's really good.
Yeah, and we have quite a few dishes nowadays. So maybe after the session, you can drop by. You can try out different types of dishes. There are 4 or 5 dishes which we have cooked, and we have samplers there, so you can come and you can taste. And since this section is about offers, so I'll cover that also. So yeah, actually Nosh is at $1,500, but you can reserve it just with $29 refundable, and then probably you can. We keep doing demos also. You can experience it. You can learn more about it. You can reach out to us, and gradually you can pay the balance, and deliveries will be in and around November. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to have innovative products being displayed at 10x. Next, I'd like to welcome Susan from How Women Lead. While she's coming up, a little bit about How Women Lead. I'm on the board of this organization and I've known the founder for about 10 years. And it's one of the most wonderful communities that we have built around the country. So I'll pass it on to Susan.
Oh, thanks, Preeti. Hi, everyone. What a great panel. Thank you for such a great panel. Preeti is one of our incredible board members. She's an incredible community builder, as you are seeing in action. How Women Lead is a nonprofit. We are focused on elevating executive women into the corporate boardroom. We need you there making decisions. into venture investing. We have a venture investment arm that focuses on women-led teams and investing in women-led founders, so getting more women into venture. And then we have a whole philanthropy arm as well, pairing executive women with social impact leaders to help get your expertise into their hands to grow their organizations. So more women in the boardroom. We have our annual Get on Board Week conference starting September 14th. There's a code up here. You can QR code it to get 15% off any virtual event. And then we also, there's been lots of conversation about branding, personal branding, corporate branding. We run a thought leadership program at How Women Lead to help get your thought leadership out into the world. We need more women quoted in the media. And so this is a QR code to email me. We'll set up a time to chat and I can give you big discounts on our thought leadership program. So thank you for including us, Preeti. Great event.
Thank you, Susan. With that, I'd like to welcome the next panel on stage. I'd like to welcome Scott, Cherise, and Ravi to get on stage. Let's give a big round of applause.
Sure. Thank you. We did that just for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's comfortable. Thank you. Sonia, my daughter's name. Thank you, Sonia.
Check.
All right.
All right. Expanding influence beyond your seat. How many of you have thought about what will you do, say, once you leave your current roles? What do you see as your future, your legacy? Show of hands. Anybody has thought about that? Okay, I see a few hands. So today, we want to look at our career in a different lens. Many of us here are marketing leaders, we have founders in the audience, and we are building our current business. But I want to take a different look in this panel on how we influence beyond our seat. And the three panelists here have done that with their careers. So I'll pass it on to each of them to talk through their journey. We have a huge mix here. We have a VC, CMO, we have somebody who's been on boards and doing fractional roles, and somebody who started their own company. With that, I'll pass it on to Scott, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what was your past career and what are you up to now?
Sure. Thank you for the kind introduction. It's good to know that supposedly I figured out what I'm doing with my life and my career. But so I'm Scott Brown. I'm the head of platform for Cervin Ventures. We're an early stage VC firm focused on B2B technology. And my background is 25 years as a B2B marketer, Cisco, Google, Facebook. And then in 2016, I left Facebook to go support my wife's career. She got the opportunity to lead a team in London. And rather than be the brash American, I spent 6 months getting around talking to all the European VCs to figure out what tech job I was going to go to. And they were all getting eviscerated by the American funds. And Europeans don't really like to market or tell people they have money. So I ended up consulting for a number of them. So when I came home, I kind of slipped back into marketing for VCs. And that's what I do now.
Great. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Cherise Torres. I am the CEO of Lotus Leadership Group. It is a fractional marketing and strategy firm, as well as executive coaching. I came to start Lotus Leadership Group about 2 years ago after a 30-year career across marketing and leadership in both traditional media and entertainment, as well as the last 15 years in big and small tech, working at Google, Facebook, ChargePoint, and taking Circle Internet public as their chief marketing officer. In addition to my role at Lotus Leadership Group, during the day, I get to help 900 graduate students at the Stanford Graduate School of Business decide what they want to be when they grow up. I head their MBA career advising and education business. Great to be here.
Hi, I'm Ravi Chalaka. I'm the founder and CEO of Know.ai, spelled Knoh.ai. We build investment decision platform for venture capitalists because they have to go through a ton of scattered data and they have to analyze and go through due diligence or sort through a number of investment requirement opportunities and figure out which ones they're going to invest based on theses. Prior to becoming a founder, I was a CMO of a startup company that got acquired. I've had, again, 20 plus years of experience, mostly in marketing, but also in product management. And it's been mostly in the tech world. Started off mostly in storage, Everpure, like I was in Hitachi, NetApp, and several other companies, and then switched over to SaaS because I wanted to switch away from hardware only to learn about SaaS, which was the fastest growing thing over the last 10 years. So here I am trying to figure out how to build a new SaaS product.
Fantastic. In that note, was this move from a CMO seat to what you're doing now, Ravi, was that deliberate or did that happen?
I'd say more organic, although the planning was deliberate. So you don't say, okay, I'm going to go from here to that. That's my next one. Let me work towards. So the way I approached it throughout my career is, in whatever role I was in, I was looking to expand to see what other problems can I solve. When I was in marketing and when we lost the VP of product management in the last company, the CEO came and said, hey, can you run product management temporarily until we find someone? Next thing you know, I was running it for 3 years. But I really loved solving problems that the company had. So pretty much every time. Then when we came in the last 12 months, the primary focus was we're going to get acquired. And so we needed to talk to about 30 different VCs and investment bankers and potential acquirers. And so that became a primary part of my role. And so I was always looking for that opportunity to solve the real biggest problem that I could go and help solve. Now that is how opportunities come, which you don't know what comes. But what you're doing is you're constantly preparing, which is deliberate. However, opportunities are when they come, you're ready for it.
Yeah, that's great. I think being ready for the next opportunity. Scott, we all here are aspiring to be CMOs, CXOs in our careers. Is that the pinnacle for our careers, or should we be thinking about it differently in this age?
That's a question that probably requires heavy drinking to get to a real answer. I mean, look, everything's changing. And like Ravi was saying, I think a lot more of, especially the executives that I talk to on a daily basis now, are looking to solve problems, like work with good people on interesting problems and like advance yourself and not worry so much about the title. So as part of my role, I deal with a lot of go-to-market executives as they're looking to get placed into early stage startups. And I have so many CMOs coming to me saying, I don't need to be CMO again. I don't need the headaches. I just want to work. I actually want to do marketing and I don't want to necessarily manage the board and everything else. And so I don't know that, there are individuals who always want to be CMO. They want the title and God bless, they can do that. But I think there's a lot more people who are just saying, I just want to do good work and learn something and be fulfilled and not necessarily work all the time.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. One of the things we were talking about when we were preparing for this panel is also to think about like not being scared by the current job situation, right? That's such a big issue. Everybody is wondering about it. So thinking beyond the seat certainly will help achieve that. Right? So Sharice, want to hear your perspective. You're now expanded to board roles, having a fractional company. Beyond your operator role, what were some things that you discovered that you could do outside the CMO role?
Yeah, it's interesting. I did not begin as a traditional CMO. Similar to you, Ravi, my role outside of the tech industry was more akin to product management. I was a general manager running a $3.5 billion global business in licensing at Nickelodeon, whether it be traditional consumer products or ultimately our streaming and downloadable video and video games. When I came into tech, they expected something a little different. right? In those days, about 15 years ago, if you didn't have an engineering or CS background, they really weren't interested in you working in product management. So I decided to look at a portion of my previous experience and say, okay, as a general manager, I'm responsible for every piece of the business. Marketing is one piece, I can do that. But similar to what you said, Scott, the success in my career has really been about solving problems. Either going to a company, identifying the intersection of their primary challenges or goals and my expertise, or helping them understand how their product fits the needs of their customer. I think the best marketers are those that, as Lorraine Toohill, the CMO of Google, would say, know the magic, know the user, connect the two. It's not just about knowing your product inside and out. It's about knowing what is your end user, your end consumer, whether that be a business or an individual, what do they really need? And how can your product help make their lives easier, help them meet their business or personal goals? So all of that, regardless of industry, my career has come down to solving problems, understanding the market, and understanding the end user.
Wow, fantastic. What a great summary. You've been a very successful operator. I have a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
Now that you've moved to the other side as a board member, how do you then look at your role right now when you actually are not there, actually doing the things? How do you approach your board roles?
It can be challenging. On a board, whether you're nonprofit or for-profit, and I've done both, you are an advisor. You're taking your pattern recognition either deep within an industry or across industries and helping shorten the time between problem and solution for the organization you're on the board of. So sometimes that is rolling up your sleeves and doing one-on-one coaching with the operators. Sometimes that's sitting in a larger room and poking holes, challenging their strategy. But I think the biggest difference is my job on a board is to have the long view. They have to understand what's it going to take to get through this quarter. What's it going to take to meet Wall Street's expectations? My job as a board member is to make sure they're balancing that quarter to quarter view with keeping the company sustainable for the long term. So I'd say it's an advisor, it's a coach versus a player coach.
Yeah, and they say noses in, hands out, something
Exactly.
like that.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic. Scott,
Yeah.
you've now moved to, I don't know, can you call it the dark side? Okay, maybe not, because I was on the dark side myself for a year as a VC CMO. Tell us about your role, like what does your day look like? And what are some things that transition from your operator role into VCs? What did you have to learn, unlearn? Would love to hear about that.
Yeah, so I'm the head of platform, which is a fancy way of saying that I run all the non-investing services for the firm. And given my background, I spend about 50% of my time advising our portfolio companies on their early stage go-to-market, foundational. And very much like you were saying, it's an advisory role. And so one of the big things I had to, and then continually reminding myself to unlearn is I no longer can control the outcome. Not that you could control it in the first place, but now all I can do is advise, consult, suggest, whisper in the board member's ear on when I think there are issues that aren't being addressed. But ultimately, I can't push the buttons. And so I really just have to sit back and watch the portfolio companies and the founders actually make the decisions. At the same time, like something that I think carries across, and we did not plan this, but it is a theme about solving problems. I think one of the biggest things I carry across is the rigor of what marketing brings of problem identification, coming up with a solution, developing a system and a process that you can measure the outcomes. That is consistent whether or not I'm helping a portfolio company with go-to-market or on some of the other things that my team oversees, like talent and acquisition or business development or things like that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Actually, you know, some of the things that I also recognized as a board director, board member was that I had to let them make the mistakes and learn, right? And it also made me a better parent. I actually have let my son make mistakes and learn on his own, and he does a better job.
Especially with portfolio companies, the worst words I hear from them is "you were right," because that generally means that they did something else, and then they come back, and that actually hurts more than when they actually take the advice the first time and do it.
Wow, you're too kind, Scott. I would have taken that win. Ravi, you already were a CMO, you expanded to product, and now you're going even beyond as a CEO. You have to manage engineering, sales, and support, everything. Tell us about that transition. How did that feel, and what are some things you're doing that you didn't do before?
Sometimes you wonder why you do make certain decisions in life, but then it is one of the most exciting decisions I've made, and I would not have been happy throughout my life if I hadn't made the decision. Now, as a head of marketing, your biggest role is you're influencing the outcome. When you switch over to founder or owning the company, you're not just influencing, you own the outcome. And you just don't own one outcome, you own the outcome of the entire business. Whether it's getting the paychecks out in time to getting the product out in time, the buck stops there. If you are in marketing, there are certain responsibilities and accountability you have. You own it up. Hey, what are the metrics? What have you delivered? What was your return on investment for marketing campaigns? But that's where it stops. If it's a sales problem, I can say that's the head of sales problem. That's the head of the product problem. That's the head of HR. It's not my problem. Guess what? As a founder, there's nowhere to point. It's all pointing at you. But having said that, I am really glad that I did a lot in marketing, which helped me formulate some of the things that otherwise I would have stumbled on if I didn't have that marketing experience, because marketing plays a vital role in every company in understanding the customer, understanding how to position the business, things that you would otherwise have to come back, re-engineer 3 years later after you had a handful of customers. So that advantage is there. But there's one advice I give is no good amount of marketing experience can replace a great product. You need to have a great product to be successful as a marketer. So that's the learning.
Wonderful, wonderful. And being a marketer, did that give you an edge to be a founder? What were the pluses and minuses?
Yeah, like I said, right off the bat, I started by just talking to potential customers. I didn't say, okay, I got an idea, let me go build the product. Let's go understand their pain point. Is the pain point really a problem? Market sizing and who are the personas I should talk to? I kind of had all that in the back of the head. I didn't want to kind of jump in and say, here's the product, would you like it?
Yeah.
So marketing really helped me in that planning process.
Wonderful. VC path, fractional CMO, CEO, so many different paths. How does one choose where to go? Anybody, if you want to take Cherise or Scott?
Yeah, I've always looked at my career as, I've never been one to have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. And as a career advisor and coach, it's probably an odd thing to say. But had I gone down the path I initially thought I would have right out of undergrad or even out of grad school, I'd be in a very different place. I absolutely would not be the founder and CEO of a company, nor would I have been in higher education. I think the key is to constantly ask oneself, is this role more of what I like, more of what I'm good at, and less of what I'm not? I advise my clients, they can call you whatever you want. Just make sure the role is giving you what you need, including the paycheck that you need. Going back to the question you had for Scott, is it about getting to the C-suite? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret, and those of you who have been in the C-suite or on a board have probably already found this. We have this vision that once we get to the pinnacle of our career, we'll have it all figured out. Or everyone there will know what they're talking about. I hate to break it to you, everyone's still trying to figure it out. It doesn't matter the title. It doesn't matter if you're board this or CXO that. We're all just using our experience, our pattern recognition, our smarts to try to make our way through in changing contexts, changing environments. So all of that to say, if an operator path serves you, go down that path. If you have the opportunity to shift from corporate to a VC or even PE-backed company, and it fits your needs, there's a match between your interests, your skills, and their goals, go for that. Careers can be very long, and there's no need to stay on one path as long as you are the one defining what success looks like. I'll say one last thing. I had a mentor from Google, incredible mentor, terrible manager. Found that a lot in a lot of my corporate roles. But when I was leaving ChargePoint, I was talking about what I might want to do next. And I was asking him about maybe returning to Google. And his question to me stopped me in my tracks. He said, are we talking about your real life or your LinkedIn life? Because those are two very different things. See, LinkedIn doesn't want you to know that. That's why I lost my mind. It's true. So many people, particularly if you are between roles, so many people, especially right now, especially in the Valley, you have an unexpected layoff, an unplanned break in service between your roles. And many people, their thought are, what will people think about a gap in my LinkedIn? Nobody's looking at your LinkedIn. The only reason they're in LinkedIn is if A, they're looking to hire someone, or B, they are looking for a job. You have to look at not just what is the role that I want, but what is the life that I'm trying to build. And shifting from operator to advisor, owner, or founder at key points of your life can help you build that life that you want. So you have a bigger life, not just a bigger job.
Wow. Wonderful. Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, that's big enough.
If I may, I'll add a little bit of perspective on that. Actually, that happened to me, right? I was caught off guard in a prior VP of marketing role. After growing the business 50% year over year, I was told that, that's I no longer can work there. Thankfully, I had built this community. I'd already started working on this community just because I was so passionate about building community, and it was something I would do evening, weekends. And that in turn helped me a lot. That's how I landed my VC role in between, because of the community, because I had interviewed, I had been on a panel with the VC. And in 6 weeks, I was able to turn it around. And that's happened time and again for me because of the community that I've been able to build. So that's one thing I welcome everybody to think about. We don't need to wait till we finish our careers to do something that is about building our own brand, starting a podcast, some ways by which we can actually get that outside role that we built for ourselves. With that being said, I'd like to hear from our panelists, what are some strategies that you see effective, right? Is it relationships? Is it building a brand? What are some ways can people actually explore or find these potential roles that you have pursued? Maybe start with you, Scott.
I think the biggest thing is just to be authentic to yourself, and figure out what's going to be something that you can continue to do every day for the next 2 years. Because to the earlier panel, it's just like messaging and positioning. About the time you're sick and tired of saying something is about the time somebody's going to say, that's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before, right? So, you've got to get out there and figure out how to propagate your message. If that's relationships, great. If you like to write, great. If it's podcasts, great. But do something that's authentic to yourself, because one, you'll stick with it because you enjoy doing it, and two, you'll come across as your true self. And so for me, it was solving problems. I just was helping out VCs in Europe, and suddenly they start asking me for more and more help, and then I suddenly did a career shift without even realizing it. And that has continued to this day. And so, yes, I like to write and promote myself a little bit on LinkedIn, but I don't do it every day. I don't go for the viral hits. I don't do all those inauthentic things because that's just not me. So whatever you do, make sure it's for you.
I'll build on that because I think my experience has been quite similar. Like you, Preeti, my last corporate role, I did not leave by choice. It was a layoff, the first in a 30+ year career. And after I dusted myself off because it did knock me down, I'm not going to pretend it didn't hit my ego. I took time to remember who I was, and not just what brought me joy, but what lit me up about my job. And what I realized was where I spent the majority of my time before and after hours was coaching. whether it was formal mentorship programs for interns, helping college students or alum from Stanford GSB where I went to school, helping mid and later career people on my team find and develop their magic. That's what I enjoyed the most. And if I think about what my brand was, that's what people always said about me. So when I had the opportunity to start my own coaching and fractional advisory business, and then go back to a place I love, a place that made me the leader I am today at the Stanford GSB, I never thought I could build an entire career just on the parts of my jobs that I liked. Let's sit with that for a minute. If we think about the traditional definition of success, it's climbing the ladder, it's grinding, it's hustle culture, it's doing what you have to do to get to what's next. And I'm not gonna lie, that is a part of it. But at the end of the day, you can very successfully build a career that's based on that intersection of your personal passion and professional skill. And it took getting knocked on my butt by an unexpected layoff for me to remember where my magic was. And now I get to spend every day helping other people discover theirs.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, sure. We all start off in a certain functional area or job type, and then in the first part of your career, you're just moving up the ladder. At least that's most people's goal, and that's your framework. You know what the next step is. You're a manager, you're an individual contributor, manager, director, VP, CMO. But at some point, this going up is really not learning a whole lot more in the business, and you become more vulnerable, especially if you're in marketing. Those marketers, you already know what I'm talking about. One of the, sales and marketing are the easiest to go out if things don't work out pretty well. They find someone else. This is why I'm going to come back to what I first said is, throughout your career, what you really want to aspire for is, what other problems can I solve and am I good at? That is outside of my comfort zone. In my case, I even did sales at one point. I did business development, and then I did product management, which I loved doing, building products. And that made it more stable for me. When we, in the last job, about when the COVID hit, we had to lay off close to 40% of the company. And especially if you're getting paid the most, some of the higher executive level, you're first to go because they can save a lot of money. But because I was able to solve other things, I was less indispensable than others. So that is my advice: is don't look for that next gig. Look for all the problems you're very good at solving, because you'll become more stable, and that next gig will appear to you because you can go solve that.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. What questions can we answer for you? And whoever has a question, request you to come to the podium and ask that. You have a question? Wow, did we answer all questions?
We scared them away.
Yes, please.
Right here.
Hello. My question is, what's the main focus to investment now? You're like a venture capital.
Here's the VC. Go for it.
Again, not on the investing team. So everything's AI, of course. But what's interesting about it is, from my perspective, because I still apply an operator's lens to it, is today it's so much easier to build and faster to build. And I see a lot of great companies with great ideas with no go-to-market muscle at all. And so the filter that I try to apply with the investment team and the committee as they're making decisions is like, is this the team that can actually take a technical product and actually bring it to market, know the customer, know the magic, connect the two. I was also at Google, so we probably both have matching tattoos.
Probably.
And do they really understand that, or can they be coached into that? Because in the past with early stage startups in particular, there was a fairly repeatable pattern that would take place over 3 to 5 years, and you would go through these kind of gates and milestones Well, today you can scale to, $1 million in ARR in a week, right? But what I constantly find with our portfolio companies and other folks I talk to is they're skipping so much of the foundations, so much of the ICP and everything else that we were talking about on the first panel, that things are going great until they don't. And they haven't built the foundation, the team, the culture, the process, the knowledge, and understanding the consumer or their buyer to know what to do when things change. And by the way, the market changes every day now. So I don't think I answered your question. I dodged it.
What's the stage are you more comfortable?
So the question was, I'll repeat it. We focus primarily on seed and Series A, and some pre-seed, which is some of the the stage names today are so kind of out the window because the sizes, the progress of the company, and everything else is so very different.
How about the industry?
Industry, so we're half AI apps and half like infrastructure dev tool, cybersecurity. So we're fairly unique as an early stage fund because we try to do multi-sector.
Yeah. They're a really good fund, actually. I've known them for quite some time. Yes. And then after that. If you can introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Carl Ponto. I'm the host of Human Connection Podcast. The question for Charisse about, you mentioned the importance of not judging one's success on external sources and kind of figure out what you value. What are some of the tools or processes you found that help people understand what they really care about internally so that they know what their inner guidance is and not trying to rely on outside sources?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I will give one caveat is it takes a certain level of privilege to even be able to have this approach, right? If you are concerned about your basic survival, finding a life that you love is probably lower on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So let me just be very clear. We all know we come in with a certain amount of privilege into this. But a tool that I use with my clients is something that we call the Wheel of Life. It's something you can find very easily if you search for it. It divides your life into kind of 8 equal parts, kind of like a pie. If you think about any working people, someone with a full-time job, it's a combination of your lived environment, relationships, health, career, financial stability, fill in the blank. And I ask clients for a snapshot in this moment of time. If a 10 is everything's perfect, don't change a thing, and a 1 is this stinks, burn it all down, where are you in each part of your life? And the goal is not to have everything at a 10. The goal is to understand, what does looking at this wheel bring out in me? So for example, when I left the entertainment industry and moved back home, I'm Bay Area born and raised, to go to Silicon Valley, my children were young. They were 4 and 6 years old. And my husband and I made a decision. I was changing industries. I was changing companies. I was going to be an absentee parent for 18 to 24 months. Why? Because I knew we had kind of mortgaged our life for us to make this bet that I could make the switch into technology. So I had to be all in. So during those 2, which ended up being almost 4 years, I took my kids to school in the morning because I didn't know what time I was getting home at night. I did not go to a parent-teacher conference until they were in 4th and 6th grade. And we moved where they were in kindergarten and 2nd. I remember the teacher saying, "Oh, you're Angel and Victor's mom." So at that time, the family, relationships, health were close to 1 for me because it was all into the job. But my learning, my personal development, my finances, my career development was very high. And what I learned was at that moment, that worked for me. But there came a time that it didn't, where the title alone wasn't enough. I wanted to see my kids grow up. I wanted to have hobbies. When I was laid off, I realized I didn't have a single hobby. I couldn't even remember what I used to do in my free time. So this is a very long-winded way of saying, I really like once a year, if you're going through a lot of change, maybe once a quarter, take a look at what are the main areas of your life and how would you rate them and what comes up for you. that resonance or dissonance with that score, with those pictures, tells you if you're satisfied with where you are, how fulfilled you are, and if you want to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Sargam?
Beautiful glasses.
This is Cervin here, and thank you for your inspiring stories. I have a very heartfelt question. I come from the biotech world, from QA, QC, oncology projects, and now I'm the head of business for an AI software startup company. And I always hear that if you want to go back to the corporate world and go into BD, you'll have to go somewhere really down there and then come up. How much truth there is in this?
Do you want to take it?
I think if you have the basic skills, you can adapt yourself to pretty much any job within a certain range. Now, you couldn't become a software programmer if you didn't have the skills, but if you have communication skills, people skills, understanding the environment, relationship with cross-functional team, those are some of the basic stuff. Almost every job I took up or every promotion I got, the first year was scary. I was like, I'm really not ready for this. But then 2 years later, because of that fear, you're able to pick up much better than if I didn't have that fear. So that fear is a natural occurrence for you in order for you to speed up your learning. So I'd say go for it. You shouldn't feel like you're falling behind.
And how did you convince the interviewers that you had it while you were not in the business?
Well, something,
Yeah,
I'll
go ahead.
jump in for you, Ravi, and I'm sure you'll have things to add, but what I found is there are industry-specific roles or industry-agnostic roles. And you mentioned you have a deep background in biotech, oncology. There are companies where that functional knowledge is at a premium. You know, when I'm speaking either to private clients or Stanford GSB students, they're going to VC or PE-backed companies that are very deeply into real estate or very deep into fill in the blanks. Let's say it's your background. So even though, say, you don't have a sales background, but you know this industry cold, going in, and the key is to talk about that intersection of your expertise and their need. So no, I may not be I might not have 10 years of advancing experience in business development, but I have 15 years of experience in this industry. I'm an industry insider. I know where the bodies are buried metaphorically. I know what the pain points are, and I can help adapt our product, adapt our sales pitch to what's needed in this industry. So I think it's really important to look at both your functional and your subject matter skills, because both are valuable. You just have to find where your background fits a gap for the company.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, Scott?
No, I mean, convincing somebody is always the toughest, right? Because they're going to be biased against believing you, and they're looking from their heuristic of, do you fit this perfect box, right? So it's really about what's your lived experience, what's your subject domain expertise, what are your skills, and how do you use the mental judo on them to maybe say like, well, I don't fit perfectly the square box that you have, but here's how I can be valuable to you. And, in terms of convincing people, this is something that I've always done. This is what I suggest to people as I'm coaching and mentoring on interviews. It's like, offer up something of value, right? Like, make an introduction, do a follow-up, create something to demonstrate outside the conversation that you actually have what it takes. And don't expect anything in return. Don't expect that that's going to move the needle, but you'd be surprised how often people are like, oh, okay, you've actually demonstrated you're going the extra mile and you know what you're talking about.
What I've realized in this change that I love BD. I don't want to go back to the lab and do research.
That's done.
I think these are very, very important, whatever you told us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah. Any other last, yes?
Hi, thank you for speaking. I'm Shreya. I'm a volunteer with 10X. Since you are all marketers, and since we are talking about AI, I think something that you touched on that is adjacent to my question. My question is about personal branding. So how do you think about how you are perceived amongst the people around you? Maybe not in an online setting. I know personal branding is a topic of online content creation marketing, but in the circles you interact in and the people you want to be known by, how do you think about personal branding? And the reason I think of this question is because since we're working a lot more with AI, it seems more and more important that people care about who you are, your character, and what you represent. So I'd like to hear about that from you three.
Great question.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Especially as for becoming a founder, it became even more important that I had to build a personal brand with the audience that I was going after. So I pretty much now on a weekly basis tweet and write blogs and write articles and go to panels like this, speak, because you have to be out there as much as you can. Now, would I rather just sit at home and just get the work done and not have? No, that's not possible anymore. If, you know, especially the customers that you're trying to win, they want to first see if they can trust you, because it's ultimately your word is when they're going to go and try, because I'm not an established big, $150 billion company or something like that. So building the brand is priority job number one. And then you need to have the product and all that.
It's high pressure.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes back to being authentic to what your brand is. And so for me, I've always, while I love to be on stage, my natural role is to be the wizard behind the curtain, helping somebody else really get the limelight. And so it's very difficult when you see everybody else having the most amazing time ever on LinkedIn. And by the way, they're not. There's something going on in their life that is not great and that they're not telling you about. And that's what I constantly remind myself. And so it's like, I don't think a personal brand, you have to be overly promotional. You just have to be authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my brand, especially in my role today, is helping founders and their teams figure out their own problems. And do I need to sit there and say, oh, I'm the one who came up with the idea, which 9 times out of 10, I didn't. I just asked some questions and kind of pointed them in a direction. I don't need to be in the spotlight. And that's what I've decided is my personal brand. So that doesn't necessarily play well today when everybody's out there doing the latest, greatest, newest, best thing. But in the long term, that's who I am.
So it's interesting, so I think mine is going to be somewhere between the two. Who would like to guess, for every open role that is out on LinkedIn, how many applications do you think employers receive? Just shout out some numbers.
10,000.
3,000.
10,000.
Anywhere between 4,000 and 1.2 million within 36 hours. Why? AI, baby. Anyone can take a job description and ask their agent of choice, fix the gaps in my resume to match this. The resumes will be perfectly manicured and have a great screen. The challenge is, with so many applications, companies are resorting to AI to screen. The differentiator, human relationships.
Yes.
It's not just about getting a referral, but if you can have a conversation with someone, whether it's a first, second, third degree connection on LinkedIn, someone you worked at a prior company that has a connection there. Your human relationships make a difference because everyone can look perfect on paper. So when I think about personal branding, yes, it's about being authentic. I think it's about being consistent in who you are and how you deliver. I have spent a grand total of $500 marketing Lotus Leadership Group. That's it. All of my clients come from referrals. Full stop. And I'm able to keep a business moving where I have to turn business away because I consistently deliver. Whether this person worked for me in the past, whether as a mentor, whether they're a current coaching client, whether it's a GSB student that has a success story of working with me. So consistency and human relationships, I find, are the great differentiator in the age of AI, number one. Number two, be who you are. I'm going to go back to what Scott is saying in authenticity. I initially, when I started Lotus Leadership Group, thought that I needed to appeal to everyone. I listed out everything that I'd ever done and said I offered advisory services for that and coaching for that. And a mentor of mine said, no one knows what to go to you for if you say you offer everything. And be clear about who you're targeting. I work with everyone. I have clients from all backgrounds. But because there are not many people in the C-suite who look like me, Black and brown women tend to gravitate towards me. And I know that I can empathize with their lived experience. So instead of apologizing for that, instead of thinking that's a failure of my business, it's a unique differentiator. To many people, this is never going to look like success. So I stopped trying to look like what success was supposed to look like. And I just showed up as myself, built my relationships, and was very consistent with the quality of work I deliver.
Wow. Well, I'll take this opportunity to give a plug for 10X. It's authentic. It's where authentic conversations like this happen. It's consistent. We do this 12 times a year or more. And it's all about building relationships. That's why we're here, all of us, right? So if there are any final thoughts, anything that you think the audience can do like in the next few months, any final takeaways before we close?
Well, if you're young and looking for a job, make connections. Only way you're even going to get that first interview. If you're a founder, make connections. The only way you're going to have a client meeting, of a prospect meeting, is that. And then if you are in marketing, try to do something that you're not comfortable with, but you enjoy doing it, whether it's a hobby or actually some other area of influence. So that's the advice I'd walk through.
I'd say my biggest takeaway is think broadly about your network. So many people just think in the professional context, colleagues at my past role or my current role. Think about school, both your undergrad or university or graduate school. If you're the parent of children, think about other parents there. Religious organizations, hobbies or clubs that you belong to. I always laugh because my best friends, I forget that they are really freaking accomplished at what they do. So don't be shy about telling people around you, regardless of context, what you're looking for next, because you never know who's listening and you never know what connections they have.
I'll build on both of your comments, which is, we all tend to get into our jobs and we focus on the issues that we have and we get heads down and we look inside the organization and we solve things. And I would just challenge you all to have at least one conversation a week with somebody outside of your work. My early mentor in my career told me, you are never as important to your own company as you are to someone else's. And some of what we talked about earlier in this panel is you have to make yourself available to those opportunities. And the only way you're going to do that is by talking to people who aren't currently in your kind of zone in similar field. So get out there, be curious, talk to people.
Well, let's give a big round of applause for this wonderful panel here. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for organizing.
And thank you for the first panel also. One more round of applause. And thank you all for being here. One quick shout out to all the volunteers. If you can raise your hands. There are a lot of volunteers that check in, build the slides, right? Thanks to all of you. That's how we're able to make this happen. And thank you. Please do enjoy any food and networking and be here next time. Thank you.
Leave it here.
Thank you.
We don't want to